I'd like to give you a little bit of intro for both of our guests. Of course, Bettina Poet Gold Wilkerson, she is a poet, author, performer, songwriter, and community artivist. And that's an artist who continually pushes the boundary of poetry and the spoken word and involves the community in their work. Poet Gold was appointed and served as the 2017 and 2018 Dutchess County Poet Laureate. She received the Dutchess County Executive's Artivist Award and is the founder of Poetry Festival, which is celebrating its 4th year this Saturday, April 24th, noon to 8 p.m. And I'm going to be giving you more information on that later. I'm sure all of you would like to attend that as well. Poet Gold brings a soul-searching insight about the human existence, love, dreams, challenges, and triumph to all of her work. And tonight's special guest is Nestor Madalengoitia, and his work is inspired by the iconography and patterns of different ancient cultures. These ideas emerge in his work as a visual and conceptual vocabulary that emerged through his focus on the intersection point between visual effect and the meaning behind a subject. Since 2018, Nestor has been working on a series of iconographic paintings taking inspiration from the figures found in the Paracas textile. That's an ancient tapestry from Nazca, Peru. Nestor's paintings have been seen in numerous exhibits and collections in New York City, the Hudson Valley, and Peru. His murals can be appreciated in public spaces throughout Poughkeepsie and other localities such as Washington, D.C., Sussex, Canada, the Florida Keys, and Peru. Nestor received the very first Dutchess County Executive's Artivist Award. He lives and works in Poughkeepsie. And now it's my honor to bring everybody in, and I'm going to pass this over to Lilia, who's going to introduce our program.
Thanks, Linda. Hi, everyone. I'm Lilia Perez. I'm the Grants and Programs Manager for Arts Mid-Hudson, and I'm going to share my screen right now with everyone to show you a virtual gallery we created with some of Nestor's murals and pieces. Nestor, if you could take yourself off mute. And we'll enter the gallery. And hi, Nestor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so could you tell, I'm gonna go through the gallery. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the pieces in here?
Well, this was kind of the representation of the precise corner in between Main Street and Cherry Street. So in that joint, there lives a lot of people from Mexico. I count many Jamaicans. I think that the Jamaican quarters are like a block from there in Cherry. So there's a variety of different ethnicities as well, but I represent the well, the title is, as you see, there's Poughkeepsie in motion, meaning that it's like a big machine of living humans and intellects and artists and just doers in Poughkeepsie, and that's the life of that spot. So it was commissioned by Hudson River Housing to do something to represent that the previous opening of the pub. What's the name of the pub? The Underwear Factory. You can see, you can recognize in the back. Mm. So that is just a little representational idea. I think ideally I represent communities. I emphasize that idea of liveliness and togetherness kind of thing. And as you can see here, there's also this kid walking towards us with a real skill t-shirt. So I represent things that I believe in and things that are present in the community, and they are strong for the community. As you can see, my sister gull is there in the door, lying there with a baby, who is not her baby, it's just a baby. And there's a friend of mine also, Jeff Johnson, walking around. So it's basically the emphasis of the community. You know, it's an exaggeration of. I think that's what artists do with the communities, especially in the livable communities where there's a lot of people. So, and that's my people. You know, I walk around, I bike all around that area, and I know most of the people.
And then this piece, Dove.
I did that in that year, 14, I think, 2014. But it's just that's I was introduced by Linda saying that I use these patterns and international patterns. In this case, are the love and peace and the yin yang symbols. They are in circles, and they compose the bird, the dove, which is again is a representation of peace, universal peace. And I like that image. Artists such as Picasso represented the dove in different ways. So that's my way to say, you know, we are okay. We just have to hold it. This was I believe in Christmas of that year, and I just did it I painted in the building it used to be my studio there I don't remember the number exactly, but it's about 100, 200 yards from Market Street in Main Street. So you can still see it every day there. And so I use as a metaphor those symbols to emphasize that idea of peace and love,
Right.
which the dog represents in the same time. So, yeah.
And this one, the Fountain of Youth. This
The
one's not in our
Fountain-
area, right?
Yeah, this was commissioned by the Westchester Health Center. No, Hunter Point Health Center in the Bronx, in Metcalf and Westchester Avenue. 1995, that was my first commission in America. That was for the community of, again, that was like very, it's a Puerto Rican, most of the Puerto Rican and Black America in the Bronx. And that represents the vision of Juan Ponce de Leon. Juan Ponce de Leon was a conqueror and an explorer in the Americas, in the Caribbean. And he was from Spain, and I think he was sick, and he was seeking in the same time the fountain of youth to rejuvenate. And he believed in that idea, and he was exploring in his cell, and he stopped in Puerto Rico, in what Puerto Rico is now, and he founded the Fountain of Youth. He thought that was it. That was his goal. He discovered it. So as you can see, I use again the metaphor of getting young in the health center. When you get sick, you go there to the health center and get better, right? That was the idea there in the mural, and they like that idea. In the scroll in the left hand of scroll is called the thing in the top left. It's in Spanish, and in the right is in English. So it's because it's a Hispanic and an American neighborhood. So I say exactly that, you know, about the discovery of the Fountain of Youth, the seeking of the Fountain of Youth by Juan Ponce de Leon. So in the back, as you see, as an inhabitant of the world, there's the continents, as you recognize America, recognize Africa, Europe, and again, repeats again in a cycle way. In the right, in the sky, you can see America, and again. So the right side is the Bronx, and the left represents Puerto Rico. So it's a metaphor for getting better.
And And this piece.
And this piece I did about 12 years ago. I started 12 years ago, and I was in the middle of many things. I was not able to install it properly. During the pandemic, I installed it finally, the mural. As you can see in the same building that used to be my studio. I installed it there. So the idea is the humanities and the science mural. You can recognize the Leonardo da Vinci of America. His name was Samuel Morse. He was an inventor and a very prominent artist in the 1800s. He's shaking hands with Thomas Watson, the founder of IBM. So there is the connection between science and humanities again. The person in red, I believe, is Mrs. Tollin. She was one of the first judges, Black American judges in Poughkeepsie, or was a lawyer or was a judge. I don't remember exactly. Bowling, I think, you believe. Maybe you can fix my remembrance there. The lady in blue is Franny Reese. She's a co-founder of Mid-Hudson. She donated part of her land, which is exactly in the middle of the mural beyond the bridge. As you can see that beyond the bridge, there's the bridge. And in the other side, it's called the Franny Reese Parkway. So there you can recognize maybe Jim Johnson, among others. And in the right bunch, there is a trio of three prominent people from the Hudson Valley. I would call Thomas Cole as a prominent too, which is in the black in the middle. They're timeless, so those people are different times. But that's what we can do in visual arts. We can put them everyone in the same time. So in the person in the brown is Thomas Barrett, a prominent artist in Poughkeepsie, who donated his house to create this association of artists in action now. Again, Thomas Cole is embracing him. And in his left, or in our right, in the right corner, there is a gentleman that his name was Melanton Smith. Melanton Smith was the person who brought together Alexander Hamilton and George Clinton, the governor of New York in that time, 1788, while Poughkeepsie was the capital of of New York. And they, how do you call it? Ratified the Constitution, right? So that's why it's a prominent act in that, and I kind of represent that act there. Other things is choose the background. I represent diversity and harmony, as you can see there, in two kids, one Latino and one Black in the left, and you can see other prominent people that I cannot mention right now. It's too long to mention. I am about to put a little plaque there with the skin that with the silhouette, so who represents each person. So this mural is in the aerodrome in Rhinebeck. My son used to be volunteer there since maybe when he was 10 years until 12 years old. He likes machines, he likes airplanes and all that. And I drove him at Saturday, and I was hiding in a tree, and he said, "No, go home, I'm okay." And he was very close with the oil for oiling the machines, the airplanes, and following these guys and the volunteers during the spectacle that they did there. And but I was freaked out. I couldn't leave the place because he was too young. and they love him, but they protect him. But I thought maybe, you know, it would be a mistake or something. It could be something that I won't like it. So I hide it, and I would start seeing some signs of the aerodrome that it needs some retouch. So I tell the manager, maybe I can stop retouching them, you know, instead of going home. So and after that, I saw this wall, empty wall, and I said, maybe you should do something here. And I started sketching it out, talking to them. So this was volunteer work, and it becomes an interesting, you know, basically are the representation of the spectacle, the characters of the spectacle. And the founder, the guy who's waving in the middle, he's the one who found it in the 70s, maybe, the aerodrome. And so again, it's the representation of the exaggeration of that reality, and make it believable, and project that enthusiasm and, you know, hope for the places that I touch by. So yeah.
And then this piece is probably your most recent of the bunch here. Could you talk about this one?
Yeah, I did that in the third day, in the third week, the third month of the pandemic. I work in this shop doing backstage for theater, and mostly Broadway. Obviously, Broadway is closed now. But while I was working there, we cut big chunks of foam, styrofoam, and they just throw it in the junk and to be picked up by the big trucks. But I thought it would be cool to accumulate those and maybe do something here in Poughkeepsie, or for myself. You know, I started liking sculpture, so I did sculpture while I was in college, but not lately. So that was the motivation. I started working in this place again about 5 years ago, and so I accumulated this foam. And one day I went to the shop and I put this styrofoam in a truck, and I brought to my studio and I accumulated there and stood in the back. So then one day I was goofing around here that I didn't know what to do because it was in the middle of the pandemic, uncertainty. I was painting a little, and I started piling up these blocks of foam. I started with my charcoal. I started visualizing a person, of course, right? Because that's what I do. I did the legs. I say it should be a woman because I admire women, right? So I put the skirt, and I went to the arms. It's just in the drawing, right? And I did a face, kind of sketch it out of a person, right? A woman. And I got my chainsaw and I start doing the holes in between the legs. Pardon me. And beyond, I start visualizing and I say, aha, this could be that woman, the persons that they are taking care about us. So it becomes the nurse. Later on, I put on a pedestal, as you can see there. If you walk Market Street, across the street from the Bannerman, you can see this sculpture. But while I was doing it, I thought it would be like a very chunky, like Picasso-esque, or maybe like, modernistic, with a little rough edge, without retouching it, without sanding it, without polishing. But I started doing it more with the small tools. I would start sanding it. And finally, I put an epoxy. I epoxy it, and I did the very fine imitation of marble. So it looked like a Greek kind of representation of a nurse. So, and yeah, it's there, and I think it served its purpose. Can glorify our heroes, and again, it's another idea of emphasizing the good of people. In this case, the health workers in front of this pandemic that really taking, putting their lives in line, and yeah, I have friends, they are nurses, relatives and friends and that are nurses and doctors, so and people who really clean the hospitals and the health centers, they are really in the line. So the nurse represent them, and yeah, I did it for the city of Poughkeepsie in this case.
Well, thank you, Nestor. I'm going to turn it over to Gold now, and I'll let everyone know that you can view this gallery on your own on our website, and I'll share a link in the chat so that you can access that. Thank you for sharing all of that, Nestor, about your work.
You're welcome.
Welcome, brother. How are you?
How are you doing, dear?
I'm good, darling. I'm good. It's so good to see you, and thank you for agreeing to, be on the show Leading with Artivism with us today. So there are a couple of questions that were sent in, and I have a few of my own. But I'm going to start with this. I know that some of your work contains a lot of different patterns around words and meaning. You know, what is the meaning of the patterns you create in many of your paintings?
One day I admire, his name is Chuck Close. I don't know if you know that artist who does a big portraiture, and he fills it up with small squares. He does a grid. He fills it up with the squares, the whole surface of the canvas, and in each square represents a little fraction of the face. So it's more schematic. I admire his work, and also the tapestry. Every tapestry have this little patterns going on there, and especially the ones from the Peruvian, pre-Columbian Peruvians were incredible tapestry artists, and especially the Paracas culture, which is roughly 500 miles from Lima, in the coast of Lima, and I saw so many pieces while I was living in Peru, and I keep it in mind to do something with it, you know. And also admire the African patterns, the Chinese patterns, the patterns of any culture, the Indian patterns, the American, Native American patterns. So I always have in mind to do something with it. I don't know what, because I am not an abstract artist. I am a representational artist, right? And so then I keeping them in mind to do something in the near future. Then I admiring, connecting with Chuck Close, with these patterns. One day I was actually, there's kind of in an anecdote way it came out. Hillary Clinton, the famous and infamous lady, came to Poughkeepsie to attend a forum about the development of Poughkeepsie about maybe 16 years ago, while she was a senator. And the mayor of that time, her name was Nancy Cousin. She invited me. I was in the front line. I just purposely want to ask a question about Poughkeepsie and Hillary Clinton at that time. And even today, I won't be able to do it. I cannot ensemble a question. I have problems ensembling questions in a crowd, right? I was very enthusiastically there trying to draw or trying to take a notes with the idea of bringing her personally to Poughkeepsie to do something. Like if I see Oprah, I will do the same thing. I will go into the front. I'm trying to connect with her and bring her to Poughkeepsie. Right. I think Poughkeepsie is the center of the world. It's not New York City.
Absolutely.
So that's why, because I live here, right? I want Poughkeepsie to succeed. Absolutely. I want to Poughkeepsie be the best, and I believe it's the best. You know. Anyway,
I agree.
Yeah. So, anyways, I tried to ensemble the question, and I couldn't. Of course, I couldn't. So in the end, everybody was leaving. I was sweating like hell because I went. I don't know why. It was like very nervous, and I approached her, and I say, "Mrs. Senator, I would like to take a picture of you. Can you pose with me, please, for the last picture?" He said, "No, I had to go. I have another commitment." So she went. She was walking maybe 100 yards, And she changed her mind, came back and said, okay, one picture and go. So I gave my camera. It was a digital camera, small, but I gave it to the bodyguard. It was sweating like hell too. It was in the middle of the summer. And he took the camera, he took the picture, but quick. So the bottom line is I went to Walgreens, one of these places, to develop. I was so enthusiastic about that. And I saw the photo was so blurry because the camera was bad. That was the first generation of digital cameras and all that. So then I say, what do I do with this blurry picture? So I put it in my studio and it was sitting there and I have the words, right? I had the words that I was trying to ensemble the question. And I have this dyslexia. I cannot organize my words anyway. So anyways, I start writing out with pastels in the wall, just doodling with those words, and start forming her face because that's what I want. And I always think that it's kind of boring, the portraiture, the traditional, because they have these empty backgrounds. Why, right? So that's what I always have that idea to do something in the background, say something with the background. And I start filling it out with words and I form the portrait of her with these words, with these questions, with these remarks, my remarks about the forum. And that, I think that was the kind of the genesis of what I am doing now.
Okay.
Because basically, instead of, again, just filling the black, empty background, right? It's blank. It doesn't say anything. So I'm trying to say something with it. So
have you ever had a hidden message in your words, like something that you want to say but you're not saying directly, but it's in there in the words that you choose to put in your work?
Yeah, you can recognize. Sometimes I do purposely, and I use the other metaphor of the like in the Renaissance and even a little before the Renaissance, they painters start painting icons with gold, right? They put in the halo of the saint of the person with gold. So I was trying to do the same thing. Trying to interview the person or thinking the person as an interview and emphasize those words, like the value of those words in the case of Hillary Clinton, what stands for in that time, right? So I start doing that. Or let's say goal, right? Community, poetry, let's say talking about you, goal in particular, what you stand for, your community in Poughkeepsie and elsewhere, right? And so I put those words in the background and I put it in gold, in the material gold.
Right.
Would be great, like in the icons in the Renaissance and beyond. But with the same idea, emphasizing what the person stands for, why it represents or write the best qualities of the person in the background, right? So it's emphasized the person.
The quality of the person.
Yeah.
So I know that maybe our audience doesn't realize it, but you're a fellow Dutchess County Executive Artist Awardee. When did you realize that your art could make a difference in impacting communities?
When I realized, I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember when I was little, I remember drawing. We were not wealthy people in Cajabamba, in the mountains in Peru. I'm talking about 55 years ago, right? But I remember drawing with chalk in the streets. I remember drawing buses or airplanes or tanks or things that moves, machines with people in it. Like stick figures, but they were people. I remember that. Or the bull, I remember the bull is a beautiful animal, of course, and it's very ancient, right? So I was trying to do that. I don't know for what purpose. It was just to show people in the street. So that was like a first mural I did. Those things were. I remember my mother chasing me because I draw in the chalk walls of my house, and she gave me paper and she gave me pencils. Instead, you just draw, But I think that was the first, I guess that was like the beginning. I don't know.
Did you, when your mother gave you the paper stuff, did you still go back to the wall?
No, but I always wanted. I want to do something bigger. You know, the paper is just too little.
Yeah, my
I was
daughters
feeling-
do that. My daughters go back to the wall. It's like,
Yeah.
here's the paper, now I want to go back to the wall.
Yeah, you always want to, I don't know, in poetry or other artists or composers, they want to do a symphony. They just don't want to do a little song, you know?
Right.
That's the ambition, I think. There is always your ambition to do something bigger, to express a big, for a wider audience, maybe?
Mhm, mhm. Well, this is a policy question. You know, there are policies such as the CREATE Act, which stands for a comprehensive resource for entrepreneurs in the arts to transfer the economy. And so, which is built around empowering communities through the arts and making sure that it's equitable for us, not only for us as individuals, but also, you know, those that provide arts. How does policy impact your work at all and your projects?
I think I don't know how to answer the question. The only thing is I believe in policies like social. I am more into social. I'm more socialist than Democrat, I would say. You know,
Mm-hmm.
in that sense. And I believe the government could do more for the social. I don't know how to articulate this, but I think like Roosevelt
Mm-hmm.
initiate the WPA, choose to come out from the depression, and now we are in the depression again. So I think the government should do more for the arts, but in terms of not saying little things like you know, just do a little painting here. Come on, do it for me. Can you? You know, but do it more organizedly and just for the people, for the will of the people, to help them out. I think art helps to come out from these things. You know, likewise singing, playing theater or something, concerts and all that. They are cheer people up, right?
Right.
But the visual arts, you know, in the Great Depression, they were the arts of the murals of that era. They were incredible. They helped them out. They helped obviously the community, the arts community, but also the community of and all, you know,
Mm-hmm.
help them makes them more hopeful and enthusiastic, I guess. Yeah, I think helps to improve the lives, especially at the moment.
It's a perfect segue into this next statement and question. Like open mics, the poet activities can be combined with music, dance, and other forms, which are easier to arouse people's interest and participation. However, visual arts has not been easy to attract many people to participate for a long period of time, especially during the pandemic. Do you have any good ideas to maybe change that or transform people's perspective on how they can stay engaged with the visual arts for a longer period of time? Maybe by integrating other art forms, and if so, how is that possible?
Yeah, I think could be a nice collaboration between performing artists with artists, with the visual artists. I don't know. There were some collaborations, you know, in between. Not that many, I guess, but I think it will be good to approach that. Not only it's sometimes when I have an idea, the idea is ahead of me, and it's hard to chase it. And sometimes behind, it's very weird. But yeah, I think we should collaborate more with performing artists. I think we talk about that goal in.
Yeah.
At least personally, you and I, and to do something,
Yeah.
and eventually it will happen. I think it will be a good
I've
thing.
done some work with a couple of artists, Michael White, who's no longer with us, but who would illustrate the poems as we went along. As I recited the poems, he would do it on the spot Donald Mickelson has also done that type of work spontaneously.
Right.
I think maybe it may be challenging to do if you're trying to tell a complete whole story. You know, in your artwork, something like that may be challenging to do, but on an abstract level, you might be able to create something out of a performance piece while it's happening.
Right. Well,
Go ahead.
no. Locally, I participate with Donna Wilkinson, Donna and Boogie Rez, yeah, Boogie Rez, another an artist, a main artist, and myself. We participate here in the gallery next. I don't remember the name of that. In Academy Street, in between Academy and Main Street. What's the name of the gallery? It's like more like a hip hop gallery. But we did a performance. The performance was at I think it was at 12. At 9 started, so it was empty until 11, and after they start coming, I was already sleepy at 11. You know, it was too late for me. And Boogie came at 11:30. You know, the superstar Boogie. So appears, and I was like sleepy, and so he, you know, when she enters, everybody wakes up. You know,
yes,
energy. Absolutely. So we start doing this performance. So it was like a duel in between them and myself and each other, right? So that was really good energy, but that was about painting, you know, who comes with the best, which is your best weapon, you know, how you approach these angles and these faces and this big tongue and these big animated eyes, how you bid them out, you know, or these jewels, these incredible sneakers that appear suddenly. So how do you approach that? How do you bid them? So so you have to get your weapons too. And I have some weapons, you know, my patterns and my faces and my clouds that I have some animated forms. Like you see in background, you can recognize America, Africa, and in this side, right? Right. Africa there. So the artists have their weapons, you know, like poetry. You have your words. We have our forms, we have our rhythms, we have our age angles, you know, we have also our softness, you know, like the clouds and some subliminal images that we have it in to represent things, you know. So I think that would be kind of cool to do with collaborations, like you say, you know.
Right. Yeah, I've gone to a couple of those where, like you said, all the artists are in the room. I mean, and there's the music playing, and the artist, and someone just sort of says, "Okay, go." The timer's on. The artists just get to work, you know, and it's amazing the different types of art that manifests in those environments. It's really just some amazing work that happens. So here's a little fun thing. You know, one of the things that I used to love about Hitchcock was that it was sort of like Finding Waldo. Hitchcock would always appear in his films, and I always look like, oh, where is he? Is he in the boat? Oh, that's him walking by. Do you have those moments in your work? Have you ever inserted your image in the body of your work?
Yeah, more like in the teasing way, you know, trying to not precisely my portrait, like Leonardo or Caravaggio or those great artists, right? They did like Waldo, you know, you have to find yourself and see.
Waldo,
But I'm more like in the funny way, you know, more using humor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very more intriguing. Like in one of the paintings that I did, the last one, I did myself there with the brush coming out from the painting. Mm-hmm. But it's not myself. It looked like more like a person from the street. It's not precisely myself. Okay. And I did purposely. And I did a little more caricaturesque myself. Mm-hmm. So the idea is to keep a little humor, I think.
Keep a little humor, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when people view your work, what do you want them to experience or think about when they view your work? Do you have a perspective on that, or do you just sort of leave it? Yeah.
I think it's I don't know if it's a goal, but it's to reflect themselves in the picture. So for instance, I do people who typically don't get together, I do them together there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get dialoguing or embracing or doing an eye contact or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my approach, and yeah, but I want them to reflect themselves. I think that's my center idea.
Now, see, that's interesting, because I'm familiar with your work, but I've never looked at it from the sense of what you just said. And now I'm going to go back and look at some of the pieces of bringing people together that normally would not be together.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to tell you is that I don't know if you saw me drumming downstairs. Remember, I was drumming downstairs. I love drumming. Drumming is the I don't know, the transfer or the transferation of your heartbeat into something. You can do anything that you touch, you can do that, and it's kind of connected to that idea of the heartbeat. And we always have the same heartbeat. It's a little faster than others, but humans, we have the same. And I love drumming. I think I have a good sense of following others and also getting to the lead. And but the point of telling you is this: I saw your poetry in the Falcon and elsewhere with the drummer, and it's a very nice collaboration also with the music. That's another element, the music and.
Well, it's because of you. I actually wound up at the Falcon. That one introduction you did with Tony Falco at the closing of your show, and you said,
that's right,
you said, Tony.
I'm very glad I did that.
Yeah, you did that, brother. You did that. You said, Tony, this is Poet Gold, and she's a poet. And Tony said, really, I don't have an opener for tonight. Would you like to open?
You started that evening, right?
And then it was love ever since, and we've grown tremendously since then. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. I personally adore you, and so and I know probably everybody here in the room has great appreciation for your work, and just keep doing what you're doing. Stay healthy, stay blessed, and stay lifted. And thank you for being on Leading with Artivism.
Thank you all. Likewise, I love you, and thanks for your attention.
Always, always. Linda, Lilia, Melissa, thank you guys. Thank you so much for this. Couldn't do it without you.
Take care, guys. Take care.
All of us at Arts Mid-Hudson just want to thank you, Poet Gold, for this collaboration as the creator and curator for Leading with Artivism. And also a big thank you to Nestor for being the special guest today and sharing some of the stories about your murals and your paintings. I hope you'll all join us next month for Leading with Artivism and hear the conversation between Poet Gold and guest Taina Asili on May 27th. So if you get our emails, we'll be sending out a link for that so you can put it on your calendar. Thank you again for joining us. It's Poetry Month. Let's get out there and celebrate. Don't forget to go to Poet Gold's Poetry Fest on Saturday, noon to 8.
Bye, everyone.